A survival situation might not be a crash landing in the bush. It might be you're flying and the weather deteriorates a little bit and you see a strip, you decide you need to put it down and spend the night.
And we're putting ourselves to the test to try that.
Are you tired?
Yeah. So, we are now to the area of my rescue.
This is part 2 of the survival shakedown in British Columbia.
So that's the difference between if you're prepared or you're spending the night. If you're not prepared, you're surviving.
Man, is it ever underwhelming when you flip this ELTA to get rescued and this little red light goes beep.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Beep.
In order to test my survival skills, I've headed to British Columbia to meet up with fellow YouTuber Brad Friesen.
Scared as hell?
Yeah, always.
And director of the BC General Aviation Association, Ryan Van Haren. We're here taking part in the Survival Shakedown, a crash course in surviving a forced landing in the mountains. In the classroom portion, we were challenged to come up with the top 5 things we should have in our kits.
5 items, and you're going to say to the group of survival items that you would like to have with you in the bush.
After talking it over, we all had our answers.
All right, so the front group, who's going to speak?
We had a survival blanket, a poncho, multi-tool, fire kit, flint, tinder, water and lights.
Okay. Next group.
We had multi-tool, fire starter, water, emergency blanket.
By the end of this, we'd all be revising that list. We were each dropped off at our own site to fend for ourselves. And as night approached, I made a serious mistake. Here's how I'm gonna rock this thing.
Oh no!
That was not good.
I don't know if you guys saw this.
Yeah,
the pot tipped.
Yeah, the pot tipped.
Oh my god.
On their rounds to check on us before sunset, the Sartex had to pull Travis for safety.
It was tough. I've learned a few things.
But he definitely wasn't the only one struggling to stay warm.
This is definitely a small finger dexterity challenge.
Part of Brad's motivation to do this course was that he had actually faced a real-world survival situation.
I said to one of the guys that were dragging everything over, I said, what are the chances of us getting into trouble tonight? He goes, we're fine. Well, temperature keeps dropping, gets down to about minus 25. Coldest night in the history of Vancouver in February, and we're stuck on the mountain. It's starting to suck. You know, we used a natural feature of snow that was overhanging, put the pallet down, put the fire logs on a shovel. We were using the fire logs, which were unfortunately melting that overhang a bit, which was causing water to drip, which was getting our legs wet, which...
And this is all within less than 3 hours, right?
Oh man, this is
like the rules of 3, right? 3 hours without proper shelter and you're in real trouble.
Now our equipment's starting to fail. You know, I'm in a bad situation. I'm getting wet, but I can't improve it by leaving. Realistically, what I should have done was we all should have gotten in the helicopter from the start, and we should have used this as our shelter.
Right.
As a rational person, you're thinking like, hey, we got to build this and stuff. Well, we had a shelter, but what we didn't also have was we didn't have a heat source.
Oh, that was a good one.
More force, less
And slow.
Brad was really struggling to get his fire going, and he was starting to worry that next time the Sartex came by on their rounds, they might be pulling him out to sleep in a trailer.
The survival police are headed our way.
Yeah, we're dead.
Hey. What kind of fuel you've got on there?
Probably the reason you're having trouble starting this is because it's so saturated.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's actually putting the sparks out before they can get hot enough
Should
to
I-
catch. Do you have any, toilet paper right there? Get a spark onto some toilet paper,
Okay.
and that'll instantly light that stuff.
Gotcha.
And then you're golden. You want to have as much surface area as possible for that spark to be able to find life. A small fire doesn't eat a ton of wood, but it also doesn't throw as much heat. But you really can keep yourself hot with a small fire. There you go.
I'm gonna get this going.
Yeah,
Safety.
definitely.
Yeah, this thing didn't start very easily. The fire pace is going now, which is good.
If we were all alone, that would have been very scary.
Yeah. All of a sudden, I'm killing the game. It's warm, it's nice. Tonight's gonna suck. I don't ever want to crash. Do not ever want to crash.
So now that Brad has fire, he's cool, but I have to restart my fire after my incident. Definitely check out part 1 if you missed that. But I was lucky and was able to restart the fire after accidentally dousing it. I'm back. That definitely killed my morale, but water is starting to boil again. Fire's back. I'm gonna have my dinner an hour later than I wanted to. But I'm still surviving, living and surviving. Flying in the Comanche with Ryan before the exercise, we discussed a few possible scenarios where you might find yourself in a forced landing that wasn't an engine failure.
Like this illusion we got out the front here, like this is slowly rising terrain, right?
Yeah.
I'm level at 2,000 feet here, and that's slowly rising in front of us.
So it's like a subtle box canyon.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that creeps up on you. I mean, this little stretch here is only 3-4 miles, but imagine if it crept up like this over the course of 15-20 miles slowly, and you have a fixed ceiling.
Ceiling dropping on you, yeah.
Right?
Trevin kept busy checking in on the various campsites to see how everyone else was doing.
I've just got a little tube type tent. Arrow's got his
Classic 4 tarper.
something like that.
Yeah.
Well, they keep telling us more wood, more wood.
Yeah.
People don't know how hard it is to survive, man.
It's tough, isn't it?
Oh.
Have you guys done this before?
I have. I did this with search and rescue about 30 years ago, I guess. And we forgot our spoon for supper.
Yeah. Daryl whittled us some spoons.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, you know what? If a spoon is your biggest issue, then I think you guys are doing okay.
I don't have good fire fundamentals. I'm able to maintain the fire going, but I'm not able to really generate a heat producing fire, which is frustrating for me. And I look over and I see fire and fire and fire, you know, like I'm realizing I don't have good fire fundamentals. I need to develop those.
And inevitably, the darkness came. A few people out here definitely didn't seem to be struggling.
And this is pretty much a hand chainsaw. Very effective. Doesn't take a very long time to cut a log this size. Which is a good size. An axe can take a lot of space up, but this would be a must.
Yeah.
For sure.
The rest of us were not faring as well.
I'm keeping some wood up above the fire. I'm keeping the fire pretty small. I gotta go over and address my my sleeping situation shortly. I kind of lost motivation for my sleeping area.
What's new?
I managed to get my dinner cooked. I don't know if you can see it. Rice and chicken in that thingy with the boiling water sitting. It takes like 40 minutes because it says that 5,000 feet. It takes twice as long, and it says 20 minutes on the package, so I gotta wait for 40.
So I see you guys join forces.
Well, it's kind of lonely sitting in a tent by ourselves. So I think starting fire with the wet tinder and wet branches was the trickiest part. It takes a bit of practice to keep a fire going with minimal effort.
Brad, how are you feeling?
I never want to crash.
And this is coming from someone who did find himself stranded in the mountains. He and his group ended up using the ELT because they were not equipped to make it through the night.
That sense of defeat of we need to get rescue set in, and things just got exponentially worse, and everybody's shivering now. I'm getting to, to a hypothermic level. And yeah, it just got really desperate really quickly. I run over the helicopter, flip the ELT, and man, is it ever underwhelming when you flip this ELT to get rescued, this little red light goes beep.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Beep.
And you expect the skies to part.
Right, I want this like boom, 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 yeah. Like we're coming. Yeah. Like that's my first time flipping the ELT, right? So I do know if you flip it to on, 2 hours later, a bunch of guys in a really awesome big helicopter will show up, and they're super cool.
But of course, it could take a lot more than 2 hours.
It's weird how a tent and a sleeping bag and ground cover like that makes so much difference.
Are you tired?
Yeah. I feel like I have the skills to manage a small fire. I'm maintaining it with like little stuff like this.
I'm gonna pull this up a little bit.
Okay, I'm gonna go check in with Stevie.
I think he's dead. That's fine.
Well, I'm hanging in there. I don't really foresee sleeping, but keeping my fire going. I'm not cold exactly. 6 hours or so till sunrise.
How's morale?
Yeah, I'd give it what are we rating that out of 10?
Yeah.
I'd give it a 7. My food was good. I had a good solid meal of chicken and rice, so that'll hold me all the way. So that really helped. I think we forgot to put pot on the list, and that was pretty important, like have a pot to boil water in.
Yeah.
I can't remember if we even put a saw on the list, but that's been my number one thing. So the secret that I've been using to keep the fire going is the feeder log strategy. So I stripped off the branches off a bunch of logs, and I just kind of feed them in as they burn down, so I don't waste energy cutting them down into small logs, and it also kind of stokes the fire as I push them in and twist them or whatever. I think next time I would probably prepare myself for a shelter I could lie in, because there's no way I can sleep like this. It's working because I know I don't have to more than one night. You know, that first day is when you've got all your energy. So I think I should have probably done better with my shelter, but this was honestly one of the longest nights of my life. Trevin got some sleep in his tent, but the temperature dropped to -6, and it was pretty lonely between midnight and 4 a.m. And this sunrise was a welcome sight.
Okay, so it's about 5 a.m. Last saw these guys about 4 or 5 hours ago, and it was cold last night, so we'll see how they're doing.
Well done last night. Definitely challenging conditions, so we'll get into that. But just relax, grab something to eat, and I'll have hot chocolate here in just a minute.
That was a rough night, man. 3 a.m. I was pretty cold. Apparently went down to -6, but I kept my fire going. Oh, I'm definitely gonna think more about having the right clothes with me and a pot with a lid. If I had a pot with a lid that clipped on, I would not have had that big problem that I had, because I wouldn't have lost the water or the fire. I could have just fixed it and straightened it back up. Plus, it took forever to boil. So, yeah, I couldn't imagine doing it for 2 nights, though.
Yeah, congratulations, you made it through.
Made it through.
I abandoned my my bed and just sat in the chair. At the point when I realized I've gone too far, I'm like, okay, new plan. I just abandoned it.
Continuing the story on board the Comanche, Ryan and I are talking about the rising terrain and a simulated lowering ceiling, forcing you down.
What are our options to turn around here? Right. I can't turn left, I can't turn right. I mean, there's this little knoll here, I could probably crank it around that. Let's just do this for fun. I'm gonna slow it up. That's a gear warning. Yeah, I'll just pretend like we got stuck here and the weather came down, and I gotta make a little turn there around that knoll. Put in a little bit of flap. Alright, we gotta watch our load factor there in the bank. Yeah, keep it coordinated. I'm slow, keeping it coordinated. I'm gonna throw in a little bit more flap here. There, that helped us kick around the corner.
Alright,
You feel that?
Yep.
And then there's our exit back out the valley.
Yeah, but you really gotta know what you're doing to pull that off.
And then we'll clean up the flaps again and accelerate. So, you know, that's a really important skill to get to know around here. Being able to turn around, like that was a pretty tight space.
That was about the minimum radius you'd want to try that at, right?
And this is a fast airplane, right? We're in a single Comanche.
The final part of the exercise was to walk around and debrief everyone's sights, and this was really interesting to see.
We started with kind of both, because there was 2 of us, right? So we had double the hands, which really made a big difference for us. We started gathering wood, and then when we thought we were done with that, then we were building the shelter. We did have the cold well, and we felt that this morning.
I started off alone, but I got lonely and
and I needed a place to cuddle.
Came over. I bought this little thing. It's like a space blanket lined tube tent. And what I found was it had got a lot of condensation last night, and it wasn't that warm because I didn't put it right next to the fire. Once we had our fire going, I mean, right here was just boiling.
To put this in perspective, this is all JC survived out of. That's it.
And
what he carried in his vest.
I actually used a little piece of everything in here, actually, even a Band-Aid. So I decided to go the simple lean-to. I had the second blanket over for the bottom, but I was fairly close to the fire. When I started, I kept it really, really small. just enough to have a flame. I could feel a lot of heat reflecting off this, and seriously, I was not cold.
And I have to admit, I wasn't proud when it came time to talk about my camp. So, this is Shelter 2.0. Initially I had a bit better, stronger one, and the wind picked up and it became a smoke collector. So that was pretty demoralizing. I was doing well at like 10 p.m. I guess that was that 10 p.m.?
Yeah.
We made a joke, I came over and filmed it, and I was like, I'm at an 8. I got a fire, I'm good to go. My water was boiling at the time. I was about to I had my stuff sitting here to pour it in. So I showed Trevin how my shelter was working, and I kicked one of the logs, spilled the water into the fire. And it was like, my boiling water is now gone. It took 20 minutes to get that to work, and my fire was mostly out. So I went from an 8 to a 4 like instantly. And it took me until like another 90 minutes to get the fire back and then make my dinner.
As an instructor and as you guys as students, when someone is honest and they come right out and they go, you know what, I was an 8 and I went to a 4 in like seconds. This is survival, and that is psychology. I can't teach it better than what he just described to me. So I appreciate your honesty in that and sharing it with everybody.
That was a good adventure. I enjoyed it. It pissed me off when it happened, and then I also immediately thought that was cool for the story.
The first thing I kind of experienced was I felt really claustrophobic when I got into my site, and I didn't have, you know, there's nowhere really to move. It's hardened up now, but everything was really soupy. I thought these tarps were going to be bigger when I bought them, and I was pretty disappointed in the size of them. The wind wasn't bad. I mean, I was in a pretty dense area. I could see the trees moving, so that wasn't a concern of mine. This thing, somebody gave this to me for Christmas, and I thought, oh, maybe that's kind of cool. I'll put that in the helicopter. And f me, like, if it wasn't littering, I'd exist.
So I'm Travis. Most of this is not my design. It was the help of the SAR people giving me a last-ditch effort of survival. We were joking about it before, but it's kind of true. I have basically zero survival or outdoor skills, so I was trying my best, but I couldn't get my fire started. I've learned a bit about how to make fires, things like that. I now definitely know to like dress better. I think that was probably the #1 thing is I'm going to start wearing, well, one, I have to buy real boots, but I will get real boots.
If you don't go out and practice these things and you don't go out and actually use these skills, when you need them, they're not going to be there.
And that about wrapped it up for us at the Survival Shakedown. We survived, but just barely. It was a real eye-opener as to what we need to do in the future to keep flying safe.
So I guess we're here to declare the winner?
Yeah.
I didn't know I was competing.
Dude.
Everything's a competition.
Right. Dude, come on.
All right.
But I'll be honest, I'm going to declare Steve the outdoor survival champion winner for this.
Whoa.
We have a winner. Whoa. Steve had a plan. He did it. It worked. He survived the night. He didn't have to break from it. I was in severe discomfort and needed something.
You didn't change your clothes though, and I did, so.
But that doesn't matter because you would have had those clothes with you. I was in the scenario that I had in my head. I had what was under my seat, which didn't include some things. So I call that a loss also. You came with the things that you knew and needed. What do you think? Do it again?
Nope. Just kidding. I'd totally do that sort of thing again. So thanks again for helping us make this content. Please visit flightshops.com to join the mailing list and play the contest. And as always, keep your flight chops sharp.
Yankee Quiz, pass load. Yankee Quiz, and cross all runners and taxis via 18, landing for 1, your discussion. Yankee Quiz.
That clearance, man. It's basically, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Helicopter, it's all good.
I love cutting across runways. It's like